All right, baby. Today is Tuesday, July 21st. Welcome to the Dog Walk, presented by Barstool Sports. As always, I'm sitting here with Chief because it's Tuesday. Chief, how are you? We also have another guest today.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're going to have, you and I do these Tinfoil Tuesdays every week. I always describe it as, I like these stories in a way that I kind of like the Indiana Jones things. Like, it's just enough like real things to like get my attention. But we got a real, legit Tinfoil Tuesday guy here with Dante.
Like, I'm saying, like, real legit. Like, if you think we're bad, because I feel like at this point we're kind of like almost debunkers, maybe.
Well, yeah, we try to play it down the middle and present, quote unquote facts, and maybe let people choose their own.
Yes.
But like, this is what people are talking about. Here's, and try to give it both sides. Dante,
Not
as much.
Because this guy texted us, what was it, in March before coronavirus? And you're like, hey, buy these seeds, man. I'm telling you, like, shit's about to hit the fan. Like, you guys need this shit to survive. We're like,
buy a mask, buy some seeds. Can I tell you, though?
What's wrong with this guy?
I don't know, but I bought some seeds. I went on Amazon, and I bought a package. Like, it's not a big package, but I think it says there's, like, 20,000 fucking seeds in this. Like, so should there be, like, nuclear winter or some World War III, and I gotta like run off and live in the prairies of Iowa or Minnesota or something, middle of fucking nowhere. I got my seeds. I'm gonna be fine.
Chief's good, and you guys that laugh, you're on your own.
I guess if I go down, it's because I didn't buy fucking seeds.
Yeah.
Hey, in my defense though, before that, Ed, we did a dog walk like part 2 about me, and we got off on a huge tangent. I remember this is like January, I think.
Yeah.
And you asked me about my whole like prepper lifestyle that I like have undercover, and you weren't like making fun of me, but you just thought like, wow, this guy's kind of crazy. And then 2 months later, Corona and lockdown and all this shit, and I was sitting there just like,
could be a prophet.
Prepare. What is it? If you fail to prepare to fail. Like, Dante's never gonna be in that boat.
No,
never. He's always ready.
Okay, real quick though, before we get into today's topic, though, what the seeds? I guess
Seeds are going to be the new currency, man.
People are gonna want to know.
I'm not that nuts. Like, there are people that really believe that. Like, Chief just quoted like a real doctrine of the hardcore preppers, but more so for me, it's like, I mean, we saw there were some food shortage scares for a minute there, and there was a whole talk about like the meat plants getting shut down, and if transportation lines ever got compromised, I mean, we would be fucked, especially living in, an urban center like Chicago. So it's always good to have a backup plan. And I mean, you can grow shit super easy. I mean, you guys have like been on my roof. Like, I got basil growing. That is I go out of my way to try to use this shit. Like, stuff that you grow is so much better because the work you put in, and it just tastes way better.
So I recently moved to a place with a pretty decent sized roof deck. I've tried cilantro because I hate buying cilantro because you only use a little bit and they make you buy a fucking bushel. Right. So I want to have I can't keep them alive. Everything just dies.
Oh, is it too much sun?
I don't know. Just everything just.
We'll talk after. We'll talk
after I need some home garden tips.
You guys are maniacs.
Today's
today's topic, man. This is another one that's kind of tough to talk about because it involves dead people. It involves very horrible shit. So it's like these people obviously aren't here to defend themselves against these crazy accusations. But like always, we're not here to fucking say like what we, whatever. We're just kind of here to be like, hey, this is a big conspiracy theory that's out there. You fucking look it up and decide what you want.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of bringing it up to the surface because Dante texted us at the 11th hour here. We had something ready to go. Like, yo, we got to do this. And I was like, all right, I hadn't heard about this. Chief and I did some digging.
Yeah.
It turns out it's like way out there.
I would say it's a big one. There was a, if you're familiar with the Joe Rogan show, he had Eddie Bravo on. He was talking about the Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington deaths, and then also kind of lumped in with them, it seems to be Avicii as well. Yeah. And that's why we got our music guy and tinfoil hat guy, Dante, on to kind of like it's the best of both worlds for him.
So what's the word here? Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell are involved in, and people think they were involved in a pedophile ring.
Does everybody know who those guys are?
The complete opposite of that.
The complete opposite is they were trying to stop pedophiles.
Yes.
They were going to shed light on.
So, Chris Cornell from Soundgarden.
Audio Slave,
Temple of the Dog, Chester Bennington, Linkin Park,
Soundgarden,
and then Avicii.
Yeah.
So
and
those are the three. Those are the three.
Those are the three like really kind of hot smoking guns. There's some like further out there ones like Anthony Bourdain, Kurt Cobain that are kind of reaches.
Princess Di.
Yeah. That you know it seems like are really conspiracy theories, but the three guys you just mentioned, I mean, there's like hardcore proof and evidence that you know they were outspoken about issues. Their loved ones were outspoken and think their deaths are really shady. And, I mean, we can get into them each individually, but the way this all came about is I woke up this morning and Chris Cornell's like family released this cover of Patience by Guns N' Roses that Cornell did that was awesome. Today would have been his 56th birthday. Posted it, just got thinking about like, man, when he died it was super sad because it was so out of fucking nowhere. I mean, this guy had a wife and kids, seemed like, you know, he beat his habit, was turning his life around, was back on the road, and just death came out of nowhere. His family was shocked, his fans were shocked. It wasn't like one of those things where you kind of saw coming, which was kind of the way with Avicii, like especially after seeing the documentary that came out last year. I don't know if you guys have watched it.
Haven't
on
seen
Netflix.
it yet.
No.
It's so sad. It's like showing just the downward spiral of his life on the road and the people that just like took such advantage of him. Basically drove him to death. But this was the complete opposite. So I got thinking about like the months after Cornell passed and all the talk that came out about like, you know, he didn't kill himself. This wasn't a suicide. And it seemed crazy to think that. But then his wife actually came out and was like, yeah, my husband didn't kill himself.
Yeah. Well, and we should say that's the cause of the official cause of death for all three of these people. So it was Chester Bennington, July 20th, 2017, suicide. Chris Cornell, May 18th, 2017, and then Avicii on April 20th, 2018. So all
pretty close to each
all
other.
pretty close.
and they all took over the like internet once you
Yeah.
know, it happened. You know, like you said, a lot of people are fucking super down about it.
And
rightfully
this was before the whole Epstein thing. This was before like child sex trafficking was kind of like, you know,
hot in the
mainstream news.
Yeah.
I mean, it was still kind of like, you know, talked about in dark places. You know, people I don't think realized it was as big as it really is. I don't think we know even 1/100th of how big it is. I think we're going to hopefully find out over the next year when this Maxwell stuff comes out. But I mean,
well, even the Wayfair thing we talked about, I think it was last week, Ed, where just the number of missing children is 800,000, and it's like, wait, what?
it's
That
insane.
like the number is just it's too big to even comprehend. Like you when you put it up against like, let's say it's COVID cases, it's like, oh man, like you see the COVID
right.
cases, you know, climbing, and it's like, wait, there's 800,000 missing children.
You're right. It's
And
like, why aren't we shutting the country down for that? Like, why?
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get into stuff like that, but yeah, but it's like it's a huge number that kind of feels like it goes underreported, with the exception of a few huge cases every couple of years, whether it's John Benet Ramsey or the one in Portugal, the English family. They did a Netflix special on that. Madeleine McCann, who I think that guy they just recently, that case is like 15, 16 years old. I think they just caught the guy, but it's like, you know, they abducted a child from a bedroom and then never found the body. So it's like, this is, and then the movie Taken comes out. Like there's been like more light being shined on this
But
issue.
that's the thing, is Taken comes out and everyone thinks it's like a fictional, you know, thriller, not thriller, but like action
movie. Yeah.
action movie. And it's like, there's
definitely some truth in it.
But I'll tell you what, though, I actually do feel like Taken shined like a good light on that.
Yeah.
Like if it's happening, you know what I mean? Like I feel like a lot of people were like, "Whoa!" It's
Dude,
like stop people in
after seeing those movies and like Hostel. I don't know if you ever saw Hostel.
Didn't see Hostel.
Fucking
Yeah, I saw that.
traumatizing. Like I have no desire to ever go to the Balkans. Like ever.
No. Did you ever?
No, I mean, like, I don't want to lump Croatia in
Well,
there.
I mean,
but
they're there.
Croatia's, like,
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, the coast is, you
Yeah,
know, like
but-
Greece. But after seeing those movies and like what goes down, and I mean,
it's bad.
No offense, but I believe
you're
that
out.
shit is.
You're out on the Balkans. Also started World War I over there.
So where do we want to start? We want to start with Chester then, because chronologically from their deaths, because Chester was the first one to die, right? You said in May of 2017.
Cornell was the first one to die.
Okay.
May 18th, 2017.
Okay.
So after kind of like things settled with that, and his wife came out and made that statement, people were like, this guy was he was a stereotypical like, rocker with pain and he was like the Kurt Cobain type. To an extent, so it wasn't hard for people to believe like he killed himself. But then when you go back and you kind of analyze situation, like I said, his life was on the up and up. He had a beautiful family, great marriage, great kids, and you could go to his last few tweets, and that is like a happy person. Like he's like fired up to be in Detroit. He's like, Detroit Rock City, let's go. And then boom, next day, overdose in his hotel room. His wife's like, I talked to him last night. He was fine. He said he might have taken an extra Ativan, so we sent security to check on him. They said, he wasn't strung out or anything like that. And it just seemed like really tragic and sad. Then a few weeks pass, and she comes out saying like he definitely didn't kill himself. So then kind of the internet sleuthers start dropping these like seeds like, yeah, he was going to produce this movie called The Silent Children about the child sex trafficking like epidemic, basically, it's taken over the world or has been here forever, and everyone just pretends doesn't exist. So I was like, where the fuck is that coming from? And then some people really took to that. A lot of people didn't. And then the Chester thing happened, and his wife did the same thing. And same kind of situation. Obviously, he was more, he had more of a rough situation. He was, an addict who kept relapsing. Again, super talented artist. I mean, there's something we can get in that's like really out there regarding him and John Podesta. But in terms of facts, like, he was ruled a suicide, and his wife came out and tweeted. Let me pull this up. We can pull it up and post it, but she tweeted like Avicii, Chester, Chris Cornell, I think the guy from Dave Matthews Band, Leroy something. Basically said all didn't die in vain. They shed light on something that the world is going to see. We love you. Thank you. Basically referencing this
This movie.
Yeah, this movie, which turns out Chester Bennington also had ties to.
Okay.
So that's when this really started to take off, and people were like, were these guys killed? Were they silenced? Yeah.
Now, I should point out what the other, to play, devil's advocate, because his wife did come out and was like, when this was initially out there, so right after his death in July, or I'm sorry, May of 2017, she said that, the medical examiner botched the autopsy, and she said drugs did not contribute to the cause of death. And then that's what made these headlines take off. So it's like, if it wasn't drugs, if it wasn't like an overdose, then, what the fuck? And she goes, there's a poor choice of phrasing has misled the public to believe that he was of sound mind and body. So some conspiracy people think if Chris wasn't impaired, he would never have killed himself, and so he must have been killed. And then they start getting into the rest of the holes. So she even, kind of isn't like dismissing some of the conspiracy things, but she wants to like clarify her own position, saying that she doesn't necessarily think that he was murdered, but she didn't think that he was like an addict who intentionally overdosed. That it was more of like an accident, and then there were some botched things with the autopsy as well.
Well, that's been the case with all these autopsies.
They're all botched?
No, they're not all botched, but there's no conclusive Like they all, if you
No notes.
if
or
you
anything.
look up the official cause of death, it says self-harm.
Okay.
Which again, I'm not an expert on all this. I don't want people to think like I'm.
Yeah, no, we
I
always
just-
give the caveat. We don't know shit about it.
Yeah, again,
Yeah.
like I just blogged this story. I got to thinking about whatever. I texted you guys like, hey, we should do a conspiracy dog walk on this, and you guys looked into it and were like, holy shit,
Yeah.
like let's do it today. So this isn't me like being like this is all truth. I have friends that are way more versed in this
Yeah.
and know.
Yeah, and she continued. She just said, my husband had no intention of leaving this world. He did not have control of his faculties due to toxicology, perhaps even exacerbated by other factors, including a head injury, which was referenced in 2 EMS reports, but were left out of the autopsy report. So
And this is Cornell or Chester's wife?
this
Sorry.
is Chris Cornell's wife,
Okay.
Vicky.
And I think that's probably the first important point, right?
Mm-hmm.
When talking about someone, do they do it or do they not? Is someone has to allege that, hey, they did not have these thoughts.
Right.
They did not want to do this. So that kind of puts everything on the radar, I guess.
Yeah.
Granted, not everyone shares those thoughts with everyone. So how maybe
Yeah.
she just didn't fucking know.
It's possible, but it also opens the window for foul play because everybody was reporting that he, committed suicide, and she's like, no, he might have acted like had these drugs in his system and had a head injury, and all of it together led him to do some things or not. Like maybe who knows what the head injury was from? It was referenced in the EMS report, but not in the not in the autopsy, which is kind of weird. So it both clarifies your own stance, but also opens up maybe Pandora's box of could be anything.
So what's up with this film now? Is there any word on this? When's it come out?
So there's actually a trailer out for it, and it's kind of one of those things that got started and never completed. I watched the trailer this morning to refresh my memory, and I wish I didn't. It's really, really sad.
Okay, I'll post that in the blog too.
It's called The Silent Children. So this guy that produced it, he kind of seems like he's not that normal. But I mean, he travels all over the world to all the places you would basically assume are hotspots for this shit, Thailand, Philippines, and then places
Balkans.
that third world places.
Yeah.
That have suffered natural disasters or famine or just war torn, where these kids are super vulnerable. And sure enough, he's documenting this stuff on hidden camera and handheld camera. This shit is going on. These kids are being rounded up. They're being reported missing. No one's looking into it.
Yeah,
it's
it's
really
800,000 kids just in the United States.
Yeah, so you can imagine countries that
worldwide, and
Now, was there any inkling on that trailer or by the direct that these people are involved? That Cornell, Bennington, and Avicii had a part in this film, or is there?
I honestly
nothing like that.
I honestly don't know. Yes or no, there might be, but
because where does Bourdain come into play? Is he alleged to be involved in this either?
So the 4chan and Reddit people say that there's both sides of it. People say he was a part of it, and that's what led him to kill himself because he had all this guilt. His girlfriend was definitely kind of a dirtbag, as became news. But then there's the other side that says he was privy to a lot of fucked up shit and was going to start voicing it because of the whole Weinstein thing. When Asia Argento came out and said, she was raped by Harvey Weinstein, Bourdain kind of went off the rails, and I saw he was tweeting stuff at Weinstein. Here's your menu coming up. Tweeted him the prison menu and stuff. So I think people up top kind of became nervous, hey, this guy's a loose cannon.
yeah.
This is where things kind of get slippery,
Yeah,
though.
and
Because when you get to those message boards, it's almost like they'll find any death and they'll try to connect the dots any way they can.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it's just the biggest fucking reach ever.
It is. And then the other thing that kind of, for me, makes me a little bit nervous about this whole topic and category as it relates to these people is that a lot of people blowing you're blowing air into the fire, fanning the flames, is anonymous. So Anonymous, the online hacker group, is like claiming to have documents that show, references to the pedophile ring, and like they list Chris Cornell, Avicii, Chris Bennington, Kurt Cobain, Lady Di, and even Paul Walker as people who knew what was going on, and then all had like mysterious deaths.
But now, if I'm not mistaken, though, doesn't Anonymous usually generally try to do good?
I mean, I would say that this is good.
Yeah, okay.
So like Anonymous is
sorry,
saying,
the way you worded that made it sound like they were on the other side. Like because this is a fine line. Like I started the show saying like, oh, they were involved with it when I basically misspoke, saying
you're right,
that there's something to do here with that.
So it's almost like they knew too much. Like the people who have had the mysterious deaths, Anonymous is claiming that they knew about Epstein and some of these larger pedophile rings, and were going to do things to quote unquote expose it. And then all those people listed by Anonymous, and again, like it's Anonymous, it's a hacker group. They've gotten a lot of things right. They're like a group of people that I would just never want to fuck with.
No.
Yeah,
Ever.
like I don't even know what they are, who they are, where they are, what they are, but they scare the shit out of me. But they're the ones kind of fanning the flames on this.
When was that? When did
that
you read
tweet was from June of this year.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Now, is it the real Anonymous? Because there's a lot of fake ones, right? Or no?
I believe it's the real Anonymous.
Because
as far as it says this is from
because Anonymous disappeared, remember, and then they came back
after the George Floyd,
Yes,
which is right when this thing got released as well.
Okay.
So I think as far as I know, it's the real Anonymous, and they're the ones out there kind of pushing that narrative.
Okay.
Or fanning the flames of that narrative.
So now, is there even much evidence at most of them? So obviously we have Cornell there.
Mm-hmm.
He's linked to his wife saying things like, "Hey, he didn't kill himself. Like that, he did not want to die." What's the real Bennington proof?
Bennington proof. You said he was involved in that documentary, right? And maybe this is a chance to what?
And this is really crazy, but when you actually look at the pictures, it's kind of like, whoa. There's this whole theory now going around, not now, but after like the John Podesta emails got leaked. There's this theory, and also, have you seen John Podesta's art gallery? Him and his brother.
It's really fucked up.
I mean,
something like
how do you not lock that guy up just for owning that stuff?
It's like if it's.
I did not see it. So for people who didn't,
dude, it falls under that whole like in school. Or,
it's like pre-crime.
It falls into the whole like what is pornography law case, and it's like because it's art, I feel like he gets away with it. I mean, it is twisted, fucked up.
Yeah,
just like has no place.
Like, have you seen some of the weird shit that were recovered from
Epstein?
Yeah. They're cousins of those.
Okay, so
like,
similar to that.
Yeah, they'd fall under the same umbrella.
You can look it up, but it's going to give you nightmares.
Yeah, it's really fucked up.
If you're listening right now, you could obviously know what they're referring to.
So when these Podesta emails came out and people started realizing like, wow, this guy he's
into some shit.
Yeah, he's twisted. Obviously, magnifying glass started getting shown on him. Then, I think this was after Bennington died. Or
yeah,
before.
Probably. Yeah, those email leaks. Well, no, it's probably before. Yeah, it's 2016. It was ahead of the election.
Right.
Yeah.
So then after Bennington died, and people are starting to try to uncover everything, in the whole sex trafficking thing, people kind of started looking at Bennington and realizing, wow, this guy looks just like a young John Podesta.
I could see that too.
So now there's this whole theory that he was Podesta's son.
Oh, fuck.
And I mean, dude, if you look at, I know it sounds nuts. If you look at the pictures, it's like not even like a close one. It's like spitting image.
Really?
Then there's this whole thing that Podesta isn't actually Podesta, that he's a Rockefeller.
No, Dante.
Changed his name. I'm telling you, there are people that know way more about shit than I do that have told me this stuff. This isn't me reading it on like Reddit.
I mean, a side by side of Bennington and Podesta, like they do look eerily similar. Do we want to talk about that music video with Avicii too?
Yeah,
1000%.
because I think that's the last person that we've mentioned here that we haven't really got to. And Avicii, that music video is something.
So we'll just tee it up. It's called
For a Better Day.
For a Better Day. And the video essentially starts with these two young children running through like a field of sunflowers, but it's like this weird kind of grainy black and white.
They're running from somebody trying to catch them.
Yeah. And
a man,
like a 35, 40-year-old man.
like a paramilitary guy.
Yeah. And so they're running through this field, and then it clips, now you have these two people kind of wearing masks that look like the Anonymous mask. Like, what was the name of that movie character?
From V for Vendetta.
Yeah, the V from Vendetta guy. And they're wearing these masks, they're running around, and they're like assassinating these people.
Branding them first.
Branding and assassinating. And it's almost like the movie Munich. Have you seen the movie Munich where they're like they have like this hit list that they're running around?
It's all high profile, like well-to-do people,
right? And they're knocking them off one by one,
right? And then crossing their picture out.
Yeah, and then and it shows, and then you keep going. It's like a 4-minute video. They show the two children, and they basically they're in the back of this van, which is in the middle of some nondescript field.
No, it's like an army truck.
Army truck, yeah, that's a better way to say it. And they open up the back of the army truck. There's 8-10 kids in there, and this guy goes, "We'll take those two." And they get out of the back of the army truck, throw them in the back of this trunk, and they don't show the guy, the actual buyer. He has like a representative, but he's in the back of this like black Mercedes with a watch and whatever. Like he's clearly like a well-to-do guy. And then they drive off, and then it's like essentially it's like the two people in present day times doing all these assassinations where the two kids plucked out of the back of that van, and now they're kind of going around getting their vengeance. But it's like this, like, I'm not like a giant Avicii fan or anything, but it doesn't seem like that is typically his content.
You just nailed it. Like that's the whole thing,
right?
It's like open your eyes. Like,
yeah,
where is this coming from?
Exactly. Like, and that came out in 2015,
right?
So if it's For a Better Day, it's on YouTube. You could watch it.
Yeah.
So just do that.
Yeah, and it's like a disturbing video. And if you think of like typical Avicii songs, you're like, oh, like let's fucking go. Like he's like a hype man. Like he has like great time, great summer guy.
Yeah.
This is not that. This is dark as fuck. So it was like, this is, like I said, it's just not his content.
Thing, yeah.
Yeah.
But on the other side, there's a lot of fucking fucked up videos that have been released before, But it's just like, oh, now people are, connected any dot they want, and here's where he falls in line.
Yeah.
Because he did this.
But like he wants that. Like you can't watch that music video and be like, oh, he doesn't want a light on it. Like the whole video is about that. So it's like, why is he doing this? Why is it
a major statement?
Yeah,
like
why is he
major statement? Out of nowhere.
He was involved in the film too?
This was his own music video.
Yeah. I know that, but I'm saying the film.
We
don't know that.
I don't know that.
Okay. I don't know if there was a link, but do
those three guys know each other? I know Bennington and Cornell did.
I honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's such an age gap.
Yeah.
And obviously a continent gap.
Yeah.
But I mean that Avicii video is just so like damning, I think,
it's bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, to draw attention. I mean, you're talking about somebody that, I mean, he's huge here, but
in Europe,
to think about how big he is like worldwide. I mean, like EDM is like soccer over there, you know. So it's like soccer here. EDM is whatever here. It just got popular, 10 years ago. But over there, it's like
the number one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, he is so big globally, internationally. I feel for like him to put that out.
Yeah. I feel like it didn't make waves. Like you would think a video like that, like I was trying to look up, did he ever make a statement about it? I didn't really find anything. And it just seems like a bizarre, like of all the topics to put on a song called For a Better Day, to be it, this revenge killing for pedophiles is.
It's the thing is, it's like, it's kind of like one of those things that it's scary to think, but are we going to look back in like 20, 30 years and be like, all this shit was going on under our noses the whole time. How did nobody make a bigger deal of it? How is Ashton Kutcher
the only guy,
the face of this?
Yeah.
He like basically retired from acting and is devoting his life to this, and everyone thinks he's like a quack. And it's like, I don't know, man. It's just, again, like I'm not an expert, but there's definitely.
Well, you get to a point where it's like the numbers don't lie.
Yeah, exactly.
So
everything's nothing until it's something.
Yeah.
And that's what,
And it is such like a thing, like, like you said, like people think Ashton Kutcher's a quack, but it's like, it's such an explosive topic and such an explosive accusation that, if you, and it's dangerous because it's like the worst thing in the world that you can be.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're going to accuse somebody, you better have them dead to rights.
And it's like, I tweeted this last week because it just like popped into my head. But I mean, remember Corey Feldman, like 5-6 years ago, got dragged so hard for being this, nut job. And he's been screaming this forever. He's been screaming like, yo, Hollywood takes advantage of young kids, and that's why these child stars are so fucked up. Like, that's why my friend Corey Haim overdosed. That's why, I'm messed up. And everyone's just like,
okay, dude.
laughing at him. Like, he's the joke. And now, I mean...
well, there was also problems with Feldman because he tried to raise, I think it was $1 million or $5 million to put this film into motion. And people were like, hey... if you really have shit that you got to tell, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
You're not, this isn't a money project, dude. Like, you're supposed to, like, you get the names out there, say who's doing these fucked up things, and let's lock them the fuck up. You know? So a lot of people kind of thought it was a money grab, which I'm not saying it was, but I'm just saying that's where a lot of people ignored him from that aspect because if he had something so serious, don't do it that way.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And obviously, like, he's, Corey, he's had his spats with, being kind of erratic and shit like that. So, but I get what you're saying for sure. I mean, that doesn't mean that terrible shit didn't happen to him at all.
Oh, definitely.
At all.
Right. Yeah.
But that's just like we try to do. We just speak on both sides here. So.
Yeah. And I'm even like kind of torn on that too, because it's like people definitely profited from exploiting him. Now he can't use that topic to, to like kind of get some back. Cause like, who do you sue? Might as well try to make money off it somehow. But yeah, it's something. These are like those things where it's like, man, I really hope it's not true because it's so fucked up. So I don't know. These three guys, I don't know.
The problem is though, is that obviously when you say the 4chan Reddit shit, that's when a lot of people just tune it the fuck out. Yeah. We've seen this happen, and people who don't even go into that world buy all this Epstein didn't kill himself shit, So if you believe in that and you believe that there's really this underbelly, like,
I do think that the Epstein thing and like his murder, death, whatever you want to call it, is where I think a lot of this stuff jumped from the mainstream. Because if it's, it's Pizzagate, it's this, it's that, it's, you just hear all these things like, what? Like, there's no way that can be true. And then, and then you read about the Epstein thing. It's like, wow, he got an unbelievable sweetheart deal. No one's really willing to talk about it. You can't pin him down. Then they think they finally do have him pinned down, and whoops, he's dead.
Yeah.
And like anybody with a brain, the most skeptical people in the world, can't look at the Epstein thing and be like, oh yeah, this is on the up and up.
I mean, what happens here if something happens to Maxwell?
I mean, the weirdest thing, not the weirdest thing, but another thing that you just have to shake your head at this whole thing is, okay, so Epstein kills himself. You don't really hear much from, I'd say, like that Hollywood community about it. You hear his accusers, cry, rightfully so, like, we're not going to get our, day in court with our, alleged accused, who they accused of these awful things. Okay, so now they somehow find Maxwell, which is awesome. And again, it's like why isn't Hollywood celebrating this? If they're innocent of this and there's all these like, there's a few bad apples, why aren't they coming out saying like, yeah, get her the fuck out of here, put her in jail the rest of her life, and anyone else affiliated with her? Like, why is there silence about this? If there's nothing wrong with it.
It does feel like there's silence. Well, it's like that Instagram account goes viral, and it's like all the people are pictured with her.
Dude, it's nuts.
It's like, and like taking a picture with somebody doesn't make you guilty if you're just at the same parties or whatever. But it's like it just seems like those two people, and it's weird that you have like the left and the right being like, oh, fucking Trump, here he is, Epstein, big scumbag, let's take him down. And then the right just turns around and shows him a picture of him with Clinton. And it's like, well, wait a second. If both of these guys, two of the most powerful people in the last 30 years, are both like deeply connected to, or connected at least to Epstein, like that's probably a good indication that the whole system is fucked.
They're all the same.
Yeah, it's just part of it, whatever. But it's really it's quite troubling, and it's just like I'm so tired of doing this topic about like the pedophile rings, but because it does seem like, oh, the Wayfair thing, oh, the Epstein thing, oh, like there's just like Pizzagate, like whatever, like everything kind of leads back to the same thing, and I can't tell if it's like garbage or if it's like it's smoke there's fire type of thing.
Oh, man, I think it's when you're that elite and you're on that kind of like spectrum, I think like the depravity thing just comes in. Like I've seen a small like inkling of it, like some of these ridiculous events. I've been hired to DJ, or I'm just like, whoa, I do not belong around these people at all. Like they're into some weird shit. I can only fucking imagine the shit Avicii saw. Like,
oh yeah,
like these, like I said, the level he was on in Europe. Like, I don't think you can comprehend the money that got thrown at this guy. Like, if you watch this documentary, he's literally flying 3 times in a day to do 3 different shows, like 2 different festivals, and then like a private house party for like some sultan.
Yeah,
and it's like,
and in the basement, it's the scene from Taken.
His manager is just whoring him out, but he's such a money machine that they were like, we don't know if this guy's going to retire again. We got to strike while the iron's hot. So he's killing himself, working himself to death, and at the same time, he's being exposed to the people that run the world, and it's like he's seeing behind the curtain, like he's seeing them in their own element in their house. Like they obviously don't show this on the documentary, but you can put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah,
I mean, this guy's doing private events, house parties. I mean, he's probably seeing all this shit go down.
Yeah, the only thing that's it's always weird to me, and maybe it's just a function of like, why is it always famous people? Like, why, you know, like, aren't there, and maybe that's the reason why we know the names that they're allegedly connected to this one way or another. But it's like, of all the people in the world who could take this down, they're murdering Avicii, Chris Cornell, and Chester Bennington over it.
Like,
I'm
sure, there's so many.
We just don't know the names that they get popped.
That you just don't know about.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. It's disturbing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think anything else here to wrap up?
Yeah, like, again, I'm not an expert. I don't know anything. I was just repeating other people's words, so if you're listening and you want to cover shit up, don't come after me.
Yeah, no, I mean, but it's worth looking, you know, like everything else, it's worth, you know, looking into on the internet. And like we said, the Avicii music video for A Better Day is fucked up, and just, you know, it's not exactly Levels, you know, it's like it's a much different vibe. Yeah. Shout out Rico, it's a much different vibe.
And there's an Instagram account, it's called Celebs with Ghislaine. If you guys want to see that, there's a ton of pictures with people on there. So, but yeah, I think that's it. I don't know, quite the fucked up situation here. But yeah, we'll stop here, and we'll see everybody tomorrow.